Saimir Tahiri, excluded from the Socialist Party's parliamentary group, requests the Albanian prosecution conclude investigations as soon as possible. The Socialist MPs have prepared their report on the Tahiri case. Not enough evidence to arrest Tahiri, but prosecution encouraged to continue investigations. From 2018, the calculation for property taxes will now be determined based on the approved market value of the property. Good evening, it's 6 o'clock on Tuesday the 24th of October 2017. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, bringing you the day's national top stories translated into English 6 days a week. The prosecution of Catania has never initiated a criminal procedure regarding the former minister, Saimir Tahiri. The document stating as such was secured by the MP himself, who now calls for the prosecution to begin the investigation against him. Regarding his leave from the Socialist Party's parliamentary group, Tahiri said that his connections to the party are strong and that this is not an exclusion but a precaution. Now a free MP, Saimir Tahiri has taken it upon himself to bring out the truth regarding his case. By a request to the prosecution of Catania, Tahiri has secured a document which confirms that there has never been a criminal procedure against him in Italy. The document seems to question the stance of the Albanian prosecution. The expulsion from the SP parliamentary group wasn't a surprise for the former Minister of Interior, who said that his connections to the Socialist Party were still very strong. The Italian prosecution has investigated the Alibeaj case for 4 years, but advised that there is no evidence in their files that gives any indication that the former Minister of Interior may be implicated. Despite this fact, within 48 hours upon the receipt of the files from Italy, the Albanian prosecution requested Parliament to approve the arrest of Saimir Tahiri. Tahiri has asked the prosecution of serious crimes to question him immediately and begin the investigation so that the case concludes as soon as possible. According to the Democratic Party, the response letter from the prosecution of Catania regarding the former minister Saimir Tahiri is worthless. Member of Parliament Alibeaj reiterated that it is the Albanian prosecution's job to investigate the former minister. According to him, the Prime Minister Edi Rama is hindering the prosecution's process of investigating Tahiri because he is afraid that the evidence will directly implicate himself and his family in serious criminal affairs. The letter that Saimir Tahiri made public today may throw out his militants, but not everybody else. It is not the job of the prosecution of Catania to prosecute a minister of Albania. This is the job of the Albanian prosecution. It is exactly this job that the Albanian prosecution is attempting to do. Prime Minister Edi Rama and Saimir Tahiri are blocking justice by not accepting the request, declared Alibeaj. According to the DP MP, the indictment by the anti-mafia regarding Tahiri is comprised of 1,800 pages of evidence, testimonies and facts from Italy. It is claimed these documents directly implicate the former minister in drug trafficking and proves he received profits in the values of millions of euros due to this activity. Alibeaj is also added that tomorrow the Parliament faces the ultimate test, whether it will choose justice and equality in the eyes of the law, or if it will stand by the double standards of Prime Minister Edi Rama and defend crime. The 5 MPs from the Socialist Party present at the Committee of Mandates regarding the prosecution's request for Saimir Tahiri have submitted the report outlining their decisions. The 5-page response declares the position of the Socialist MPs that the prosecution failed to convincingly argue Tahiri's involvement in unlawful activities or deliver any clear evidence that would call for the extreme move of arresting Tahiri. The MPs from the majority went on to add that their current stance does not stand to hinder the investigations by the prosecution, which have already begun. However, they conclude that the evidence presented at this point does not justify the prosecution's request to arrest Tahiri. The lack of evidence and the time frame of just 2 days from when the prosecution received the information to when they made the request indicates that at this stage of the investigation, there are no grounds for the arrest of Saimir Tahiri. We therefore imply that the prosecution has made such a request as a political claim, the MPs emphasised in the report. Samir Tahiri's lawyer also referenced a previous hearing held at the Court of Fear, where Tahiri was connected with an investigation relating to a vehicle, an Audi A8 with license plate number 11003GB. The vehicle was suspected of being involved in the transportation of narcotics. Tahiri's lawyer claims that during that trial, the prosecutor of Fear came to the conclusion that the facts did not constitute evidence of involvement by Samir Tahiri. The Democratic Party and the SMI have composed a 22-page report in which they ask the prosecution's request to investigate and arrest MP Samir Tahiri to be approved. After examining the documentation and discussing the case, members of the Council of Immunity concluded that they approved the authorization to arrest and search the apartment of Samir Tahiri. The opposition adds that the collected facts, which were made public by the Italian authorities, greatly echoed the public opinion in Albania. The published report consisted of 140 pages of discussions where the accused mentioned the name of Samir Tahiri. The report by the DP and SMI also adds that Habilai and collaborators had close relations with MP Samir Tahiri, from which they have benefited. Through bribes, they have made possible the cultivation and transportation of narcotic substances abroad in organised ways. The opposition also expressed that MP Tahiri has assisted the inviolability of a structured criminal group. The whole criminal activity was supported with the collaboration of the structured criminal group with the state police, especially in the district of Llalla. The collaboration was made possible because Samir Tahiri controlled and led the state police, due to his function at the time as Minister of Interior. Regarding the stance of the majority, the opposition adds that the law doesn't require that, in order to approve the authorization, the Parliament has to examine and evaluate the evidence or its credibility. The Parliament, as a legislative power, only has one obligation in this procedure: to ensure that the Member of Parliament under investigation doesn't get used for political agendas. General Prosecutor Adriatic Lala has accused politicians of consistently interfering in investigations by prosecutors, especially when it comes to cases that include high officials. Llalla demanded that such events stop happening and that prosecutors be independent in their investigations. The head of the prosecution body, Adriatic Lala, also appealed politicians to stop intimidating prosecutors, even in cases when they investigate high officials. According to the General Prosecutor, it is important that every prosecutor investigates independently and without fear. It is very important that in every case the prosecutor carries out his investigations uninfluenced and unafraid, even in those cases when the former or current high officials are the subject of the investigation. In the end, this is the international standard that Albania aspires to. We must all work together in order to achieve these standards as soon as possible, declared the General Prosecutor. He added that no one can interfere in the prosecutor's job, as only the prosecutor knows the progress of the investigation. The General Prosecutor confirmed that all those implicated in drug trafficking, especially those who should be fighting the phenomenon, will be targeted for prosecution. The Ministry of Finance has completed the draft of the new fiscal package for 2018. The draft includes provisions for changes to property tax. Under the new scheme, Albanian families will pay 0.05% of the determined market value of their property. The market value of apartments will be determined based on referenced prices as approved by the Council of Ministers. Based on the new calculations for property tax, a flat worth €100,000 will now be required to pay 5,000 lek in tax per year for their property. For properties used for activities with economic gain, a higher tax rate of 0.15% of the property's value will be applied. Furthermore, the introduction of a tax agent to collect property tax on the government's behalf has been included in the draft. It has been determined that the agent will receive a total of 2% of all taxes collected. Although no provision has been set as to the institution to manage the task, the rumour mill has suggested the electricity operator OSHI is likely to receive the responsibility. The newly proposed scheme offers a completely different formula for the calculation of property tax, which currently sets rates by the age and location of the building. As a country, Albania's income from property tax is one of the lowest, and it is thought that the new project, to be first implemented in Tirana before continuing to later cities, will improve the collection of property tax for the state. That's all for our English edition this evening. My name is Alexandra. Please join me again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. On behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.